back to another episode of Talking Chaos. I'm the Condor, as usual. With me, as always, Warlock Fred.
Is this thing on? Are we recording?
Yes.
Hey guys, what's up?
Our special guest today, Cloud. While amidst a flight, I made a friend. Here's Cloud.
Yellow.
Yay, Cloud. So our episode today is going to focus primarily on what huge disappointments we are, specifically in the regard to manhood, or like being a man's man. This is the Not the Mama episode of Talking Chaos.
Ladies, you may learn something. Gentlemen, hopefully you absolutely learned something.
Well, really, like, I don't know. This is just going to be a testament to what huge disappointments I think the three of us probably think we are to our fathers.
I'm over it.
But, like, okay, what is man's man?
But
does this even exist? Was it something that only existed for, like, the 50s?
Well, it depends on what you're going with. No.
What do you mean going with?
Well, it depends on if you're referring to it really depends on what you're referring to in the regard of like man's manly man of like, oh, like I go out and chop, like, you know, I'm a lumberjack that goes out and chops trees, or like, you know, works on cars and like comes home like sweaty as fuck. Or
Speaking
is it like
of that? Do you care to mention what you do?
What, that I do tree work for a living?
Yeah, like one of the manliest fucking jobs I can think of offhand. If it wasn't, like, the only thing more manly than that I can think of off the top of my head is a crew member on one of the deadliest catch boats.
Right. Well, you had it, you know.
Yeah, I did work with Cloud, felling trees for a short period of time. I sucked at it. It did not last. Like I said before in other episodes, I have a hard time holding employment, especially if it means working.
So what you're saying is you really didn't like playing with wood?
Nah.
Softwood. Those are really the only ones. The hardwood, I have a hard time with. Really, like it's a really hard time.
Including your O's?
Well, birds mating season is very short, okay, in my defense. And so, you know what? Maybe we'll save this for another episode. I just know that, like, when I was a kid, I just remember feeling like I was, I know that on more than one occasion, my dad flat out called me a fag.
Interesting.
Regardless of the political implications of my using that word, I'm using it to tell a story of, like, what was said to me. I don't use that word in my private life. I don't use it in my public life. But that's just, like, at least 3 occasions. My father was like, quit being a faggot.
Or, like, the usual line, like, man up.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard that one. That's
such a, I don't know. I get really disappointed at stuff like that. Because, like, I get,
you are
like,
a disappointment.
And at the same time, is there a more valid phrase to use for me would be, like, keep pushing. Or, like, keep working as hard as you're working. Or try to work harder. Something like that. Man up just means, like, it's like code for quit being a pussy.
Right.
Which, and I'm sure everybody's seen the Betty White, like, quote of the, like, don't call, like, a pussy, like, why, I don't know why a pussy is a bad thing, because they take quite a pounding.
Right. Yeah. No. It's hard to beat that.
Hey, assholes take a pounding sometimes too.
That you're not wrong.
It's absolutely true. This has gone off the rails quite quickly. We would like to take a moment and thank our patrons. Without them, this show wouldn't be possible. If you want to become a patron and support our talking about assholes getting pounded occasionally, go to patreon.com/talkingchaos and sign up. Help us out. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook. Like our page. Do all the things. Go do the
Find
thing.
us on Instagram.
Yeah.
All right. So what do you define a man's manly man to be?
Okay. I'm going to be super generic and stereotypical for a half a second. Okay. So this is my mind's interpretation of this.
We're all entitled. We're all entitled to our own opinion.
With me about it. Okay. But like a woodworker, a guy who knows how to change his own oil and do work on his own vehicle, somebody who knows how to manicure their beard in a way that makes them look appealing but rough around the edges. You know what I mean?
And
rugged.
Right, rugged is a very fair word. Or burly.
Burly and I are talking about bears, and that's a totally different standpoint.
A guy who camping a lot.
A guy that mows his lawn and weed whips it like perfectly.
And loves to do that too.
To do it every week.
Right.
I would be especially the lawn mowing and weed whacking shit. I absolutely do that.
Yeah.
You're guilty of loving the lawn care.
So you're one of those
Yes.
guys like, I just love the smell of a fresh mowed
Well,
lawn.
not all of us can wave our wand and immediately cut our own grass. So you
Well,
got to understand where he's coming from a little bit.
Right. Well, I guess it's like the appreciation of it, you know?
No,
Right.
I actually do it by hand. I don't use magic on something like that. There are other things I use it for, but
Wow,
Man, you
that's-
don't even use a mower? You
What
do
a-
it by hand?
Yeah, like pull up
I-
every blade of grass and like tear it yourself.
they're,
Days
they're,
to take you.
they're gentle beings.
By
Let
the
them
time
be.
he gets done with the full lawn, he's got to start over again. The grass at the other side is all now.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, see, a manly man wouldn't care, and he would just make sure the job is done.
Right.
And he would enjoy every moment of it.
Those weeds in every single crack in his driveway or sidewalk and then freaking weed kill it.
Here's what's a manly man's favorite sport? This is an easy question, I think, as an American. No answer?
Football?
Of course it's
I was
football.
about to say football.
I'll say it's either football or it's baseball because like
Every
well, it
man
also depends.
played on a football team too. Like that's part of the stereotypical archetype in my mind. Is like the jock that grew into adulthood, basically. Like the adult version of a jock is a manly man.
So you're essentially saying like a Chad or a Kyle would be a great example of a manly man.
I don't know about that. Kyle's I think of as like people who snort monster cans, and that isn't very manly. But like
It's the bubble that
like a
gets
Toms are manly as fuck. Generally speaking. Or like I don't know, those like weird names too, like Montgomery or Chadwick. Like those guys.
Shit, I've never met anyone named Chadwick. Where the fuck did you pull that out of?
I don't know, but I fear that I've met a Chadwick.
I noticed too, like a lot of Gregs.
Yes,
too.
that's a
another
great one.
manly
Gregs
one.
are manly men. Yeah.
Greg or John?
Yeah,
Mhm.
John.
Now, the confusing part about sexuality-wise, manly men can be equally the dudes who sleep around, but they're really smooth about it. Or they're married, have a kid, and they're just totally taking care of business, like TCOB style. I could be wrong.
I love that we're describing what our man's manly man is so that we can, eventually hopefully date him someday versus like the disappointment we are to our fathers.
Right, like I remember my dad bought a trailer and he had to wire it because the trailer that he purchased didn't have lights. You're not allowed to have a trailer in this state without lights. So we
Most
had
states now.
to wire lights on, or he did, and he asked for my assistance. I electrocuted myself twice. And he said, "You suck, get in the house."
Why are you crying? Man up.
I feel like you didn't grow up as a child, like especially a boy child, if you didn't like while your dad was working on the engine of a car, while you're holding the fucking flashlight, all he did was yell at you, you're pointing it in the wrong fucking spot.
Yeah, that sounds appropriate. I definitely experienced that on one or two occasions.
I didn't really at all, though, because I had an older brother, you know what I mean? So I don't know.
You got out of that kind of?
Yeah, I didn't even get any of that. It was more of like, you know, dad and older brother over like me, who was like, you know, like kind of like if a king has two sons, the firstborn becomes king, you know what I mean? And then the other one, you know, he's like, I want to be king, but you're like, no, you can't be king, but you can be whatever you want to be, you know, like
you can be the Archduke of whoever the fuck cares.
Yeah, you were the Archduke Cloud.
But
Archduke
like the
Cloud.
thing is, though, yeah, it's like a lot of it, though. It's like my brother, you know, got a lot more attention from my dad than I did, you know. So.
See, and so I was the older brother. Like I have a younger brother, and I feel like that made me more of a disappointment to my father in that regard, simply because like there were things that I did that he was like, "Why the fuck are you like? Why are you fucking up? Why are you doing that? Whatever, like whatever the hell it happened to be." Like my dad did factory work for all of his life, and I've done factory work
of a very manly man, very trait like characteristic.
Yeah, typically manly man does like works with his hands
Hard
in some
labor.
regard or another. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
or he's in a position of authority, like a cop or a corrections officer, law enforcement official, something like that.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, I feel like my dad and my brother bonded a lot more than I did because like my mom has always said like I act a lot like my dad, which is why we butt heads a lot, which is ironic in that regard, because it's like, wait, but if we like, you know, we have the same personality, why the fuck wouldn't we like, you know, get along better?
Yeah, it's kind of the same ends of a magnet, though. You guys are naturally repellent toward each other.
I mean, you know, shit happens.
Hey, part of being that great disappointment. Boy Scouts. I was in Boy Scouts. An example to me of like steps that you can take to get to manly man status. Boy Scouts is a potential.
Okay. Like, I mean, you're learning. You didn't fit in?
Yeah, it was very apparent that I did not belong.
Was it because you were scared of gathering the wood?
When we did outside stuff, like, I did not like it. I was like, if we're going to build, like, Morse code devices, why don't we just go inside and turn the lights off? Why the fuck are we outside?
Let's do it with lights. Let's learn it with it.
Yeah, let's do that either. Like, the switch is right there. They were
so you fall, I assume in the I assume in the regard of camping, you fall into we've spent thousands of years perfecting indoors. Why the fuck would I want to go sleep outside?
Right.
Not necessarily, but like some of these guys, I'll see on like YouTube. I hate to mention things like this, but I watch people on YouTube who like build off the grid log cabins. That's got to be the manliest fucking thing you can do. It's like, I'm just going to build a home for myself away from home, which I probably also built.
You cleared my whole property. It was the middle of the woods.
Right. I rented the machinery. I did the digging. God damn it, I got it done.
I did the plumbing.
Right, and I'm going to show you on YouTube how it's done. Right. Like, and I feel like my dick is so small when I watch these.
I mean,
the only one? Okay, cool.
Nobody's contesting you on that.
It's just, I don't know.
Depends on the person.
I'm
True.
equally logical as I am emotionally based. So I get a bunch of shit from other, quote, manly men about being an emotional little shit or a drama queen sometimes. And that's so far from manly man.
Well, I mean, stereotypical manly man.
Right.
Not necessarily like what needs to be brought into today's society.
Right. Yeah.
Because like I feel like more like, especially with the way today's society is moving, it's that men need to be more in their feelings, or at least like letting their feelings known to the people around them, versus like the stoic version, like, you know, the 40s, 50s, 60s version of men that
Right,
like
right.
it was, they were very stoic and very like, oh, well, I don't talk about my feelings. But like feelings aren't like, men don't have feelings. What are you talking about?
Well,
All we
in
do is
their
have
defense,
anger where
they
we
had gone through World War II, so I understand why they may not talk about their feelings.
Some guys have feelings, so I've always been more of a sensitive like person instead of a manly man.
I love the way that you
About it.
said that. Like, some people have feelings. Like, to also equally say some
I have
people
feelings.
don't have feelings.
I
Some
have
people
feelings,
are
and
machines.
You damn heard every one of them. No, but
I am Terminator. I
Yeah.
do not feel.
yeah, come
I
with
am-
me if you want to live.
I am manly man. Right.
Now.
Who do you think of when you think of a manly man?
Well, I mean, we were talking offline, but you mentioned Nick Offerman as being like the like of today's age, the quintessential manly man.
Yeah, fucking guy built his own like wood cabin, and like he built a wooden canoe. Like,
Yeah.
come on, are you shitting me? Dan Harmon's character in NCIS, what's his name?
Gibbs,
Yeah, Gibbs.
Yeah.
Gibbs is a manly man.
Leroy Jethro Gibbs.
Right.
So they're all terrible names.
Yeah, I frankly love that character. Like, he's got to be one of my hands down favorite characters. But he's definitely a manly man. And like when that character hugs, it has impact on the show and what they're trying to do there. One of the others that I couldn't help think about was James Bond.
Any kind
James-
of superhero, really, like typically.
Like what?
Like shit, dude. Like, I don't know, the most cliche one ever, Superman.
Yeah, it's pretty manly, man.
Yeah,
Superhero.
Batman.
Yeah, yeah. Even the way that Christian Bale talked in that last movie series, like,
Liam Neeson.
I am Batman. I can't do it. It sucks. I don't. Liam Neeson. Qui-Gon Jinn. Yeah, dude. Qui-Gon Jinn, manly man for sure.
I was gonna say Taken, fucking legit.
Yes.
Right, yeah. Every manly man has a specific set of skills, though. Like
Yeah.
that's
Most like to think they know all the skills, but
well, and how intimidating is it to say, "I am a jack of all trades"?
well, Bonds can be jack of all trades.
Yeah, but he's like an expert in everything. Like that's like the Superman of fictional characters. Like the realistic fictional characters. And even that's a stretch because he has like concrete boat ships, cars, and I don't know, jet powered boat cars in one movie.
Yeah.
So that's not I don't James Bond though. Like
Yeah, James Bond's a good one.
one of my
He always
favorite,
gets the lady, and he always gets his man.
oh yeah, that's duh. But one of my favorite episodes of one of my favorite television shows, Friends, Chandler and Ross are fighting over these tuxes for a wedding. And Chandler ends up with James Bond's tux, and Ross thinks he has Batman's tux. It ends up not being the right one. but the conversation is what's the most like you don't even know anything about Superman. Ross says something ridiculous about like the last time you slept with my sister on the night of my wedding, on my wedding night. And he was like, that's pretty James Bond. That's one of my favorite lines because it is. James Bond totally would fucking sleep with somebody's sister on their wedding night.
Too.
What's
Bond.
another?
James Bond.
I don't
Steve
know.
Irwin.
Yeah, he's a manly. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah,
like,
rest
no
in peace.
fear. Fear is definitely encouraged. Those are weird aspects of a manly man, for sure.
Well, and that brings into like what the modern day manly man is. And we've brought, like, people are now saying like Fred Rogers, fucking Steve Irwin.
Fred Rogers? Mr. Rogers?
Mr. Rogers.
Okay, say
Like,
that. When you say Fred Rogers, it makes it sound like you like know the guy.
Hello, neighbor.
Maybe he's the Wizard Rogers, dude. That's all I'm saying. Warlock Fred Rogers. Go on, Fred Rogers.
Well, now I'm pulling a blank. Laverne Barton was like the Reading Rainbow dude, and now I can't. Why can I not the painting
LeVar
guy?
Burton. Oh, Bob Ross.
Thank you.
Bob
Like
motherfucking Ross. Are you shitting me, Bob Ross?
It was stuck on the tip of my tongue.
I like the other way that people refer to him, and it's Rob Boss.
We're gonna add some trees up here. Nothing's wrong with making friends with trees.
We're gonna put a little cloud in here, like we just did in the show.
Right and then a little sunlight right here.
Yeah.
Right in the corner. That's right.
Well, if you, I don't know.
Is it that time, or is it like? Are we allowed to?
We're gonna hint that we're getting close, but we'll leave it for a little bit. We'll see what we can get out of this. Do either of you know how to take apart an engine?
No.
Yes.
Okay. My dad knows.
I'm suddenly intimidated by how I know you.
No, actually, I've actually looked at project cars and whatnot. The problem is that financially, you have to be able to replace the parts on a project car, like if you need to replace parts.
Right.
So, like, for example, my wife and I have a friend that purchased a truck, like with the intention of it being a project truck.
Excuse me, but this conversation is making my dick smaller.
It tends to. I mean, you kind of are a lady man.
This is an illustration further of the fact that I don't know what the fuck is going on, and I am a manly man.
What's even better is the friend that the friend that purchased the truck is a woman that is transitioning to a man.
Nice.
Yeah. So purchase truck, like with the anticipation of like making it a project truck that like, hey, I'm going to make money and like put effort and everything into this.
As if she doesn't have enough projects happening already. If she figured, yeah, why not? Let's get a project truck.
That shit does take some work.
Yeah. But I think the thing that happened, I think the thing that happened was that they ran out of funds in order to like realize like, oh shit, it's going to cost more for me to like make sure that this thing has all the parts it needs than it is to like actually put the work in. And so like, that's what happened with the project in regard to like,
Are you talking about the transition or the car?
The car.
Okay. Because you were talking about parts that were needed.
That's called the tranny. I know that. My attention every time I hear it.
Oh man!
What?
Yeah,
where?
We took a turn.
Skirt.
Yeah.
Skirt.
If you want to hear more about how we've grossly disappointed our fathers and how we're absolutely not manly men, or wish to comment on how not manly we are, go to our subreddit at /r/Talking Chaos Podcast. Am I getting that right? Again, not a manly man, so I cannot ever have my shit together.
It's r/Talking Chaos podcast.
There you go.
Right.
If you've enjoyed this episode of the trimmed portion of Talking Chaos and you want to hear more, check us out at patreon.com/talkingchaos. Thanks for listening, guys.